Hello, everyone. My name is Nicole Ostrander, and I'm going to walk you through how the customer perspective can drive and innovate business operations. It can be challenging to identify and prioritize really the necessary changes in an organization to help ensure business efficiency, business effectiveness, and the overall growth. So this presentation will start from the customer perspective and through their journey help determine where key changes in day-to-day operations need to be made. Additionally, this presentation will walk you through the strategic opportunities for automation from both the data as well as the subject matter expert perspective. This will bring a 360-degree view of process improvement opportunities through the customer's eyes, your business owner's expertise, and the clear data through Signavio's process mining solution, Process Intelligence. We will walk you through an example via telecommunications and start with the customer journey. We want to understand who is our persona, what is our ideal candidates that we want to work with, who are usually involved with our processes as we go through our operations. In addition to that, we want to understand, well, what are their concerns and their issues? What is their overall goal? Again, we want to focus on what the customer's expectations are and how do we deliver and exceed on those customer expectations. So by understanding the ideal candidates, i.e. the personas we work with, we can really start to say, well, what is it that they come into contact? Why do they reach out to us? Why are they interacting with us at certain points in time? In addition to understanding our personas, we understand specifically what are the steps that they go through. How are they interacting with our organization? At what point do we have specific touch points? Where are those moments of truth, that emotional make it or break it? Do they continue with our organization or do they decide to leave the sales cycle or the process cycle? And if so, what's disrupting them? And also understanding the emotional distress that they may face. Where are they frustrated? Where are they happy? Where are they confused? And this will help us highlight and focus in where prioritization of the process improvement needs to take place, looking through the lens of the customer. So here we're going to see Jennifer interacting with our customer service to report her internet being down. And we can see that she's not happy with the service. So let's take a closer look. This is the day-to-day process operation that is internal to our organization. So what we're able to do here is really connect the dots. A lot of times we work in silos. What we see from a customer service doesn't necessarily connect with the actual operations going on. And not being able to see that full view limits us in understanding how to make change, how to make a difference. What we see here is our different swim lanes. So who are the departments involved with this interaction? What is the flow of activities? What is the technology enabling? Really giving clear and precise directions to really understand how the process should in fact perform. The more information, the more context, the more visuals we provide to our end users to train and understand on how the process should operate, the more likely they are to follow that process, to have that conformance. And the more we have conformance, the more we have consistency in each customer engagement. So really being able to communicate the process, the steps, the details is key, from description to image to flow to any type of gateways is going to be critical to really supporting that change management. Now, what we're also able to see is live insights, and this is going to be from the data perspective. So through our event logs, we can see where and where not we are meeting our KPIs. Where is there concern in the process health? So for instance, at a particular activity, such as perform network connection test, we see that it should take 2 hours, but through the data lens, we're seeing that on average is taking 1 day and 18 hours. So that's going to disrupt the flow of the process, the overall timeline for the process, which is not going to meet the needs of the customer. So let's take a closer look at the data-driven perspective, always keeping in mind that customer experience as we go through. So what we can see here is some key dashboards. We're looking at an average cycle time of 6 days and 22 hours in comparison to a resolution of 2 days. Now, put yourself in Jennifer's shoes. Imagine that, at this time, we are all working from home. Her kids may be at home learning from online classes, and your internet goes down. So not only are you frustrated and stressed, you're thinking, okay, what is the max time that they are communicating? Max. And it should be 2 days. But it might go on to 6 days, 22 hours, which is unacceptable from an SLA perspective. So we are providing poor customer support, and we are losing credibility each hour that passes. And we really want to start understanding and laying the foundation for understanding my investigation. So we start to ask the question, well, why is our cycle time well over our set KPI? When performed network test does take place, why is it the average way over than the threshold we set? So overall, why does there seem to be performance issues? So let's go ahead and see a little bit more on the process discovery. So the process discovery really is the baseline for your investigation. It generates a process model from the event log data, visualizing really the most important behavior of your process. It provides insight on activities that are being conducted and the patch to which these activities follow. So when we're looking at thicker lines, this will indicate a high number of occurrences of the particular sequence or a high cycle time. So we can see that thicker lines may be longer wait times and start to see the bottleneck component to it. Now, ideally, seems pretty clean cut. We can see a number of cases come through, the flow of the activities, and it doesn't look too messy. But what happens is when we start to increase the true number of activities, the true number of variations, really start to take a closer look at all the occurrences of our process, we realize quickly it's not as clean as we thought it was. We can see that right from the beginning, there's variations on what trigger the start of the process. Thicker lines, as mentioned, indicate more bottlenecks. We can see not only conformance issues, but we can see rework issues. And so we are starting to get a clear insight where particular root causes at specific activities may lie. So we want to take a closer look at this area to say, every time we perform a network test, or quite frequently rather, there's rework to be done. There's a lot of variation in how the flow of the process occurs. Outage management has rework. So how do we clean this up? How do we make a change into key activities to better assist the process and, again, better help the customer experience? Next, we have what's called process variation or process variance. We are highlighting these variants to show the thicker the line, the longer it takes. Again, each time we do perform network tests, this seems to be a key activity that's causing concern and problems in our process. We can see that there's a lot of rework, so that certainly causes concern. Additionally, we can actually leverage our data and have it export into a BPMN model. So we can take our most common variation of our process and say, let's go ahead and actually extract this as a BPMN model. So maybe I want these key activities. This is a good baseline for what we see most common for our process. And we can use our subject matter expertise to bring in key items like swim lanes to understand the departments, or enable our IT team to say, well, what systems are being leveraged at what point in time of the process. So this gives us better visibility to say, is it the technology? Is it the resources? what is overall causing concern here with our process activities. So it's really bridging the gap between people and data and seeing it from the full perspective. Now, once we leverage that BPMN export and start to create the true visual of understanding how we actually operate our process, we can say how compliant, how conformed are we? So we can see that there's quite a few numbers of variations that are occurring. What process conformance allows us to visualize really is the real execution of the business process and the application over the process model described by our subject matter experts. So here you can see the execution path of the process in this pink tone or purple tone on top of the business process model. But what we're going to be able to see is we can go ahead and say, well, what are the biggest outliers? What does the outliers look like? Are they causing a lot of time? Or what's the most common executed path? Why are there certain activities that we didn't account for? Why are we continuously skipping over check device remote functionality? Maybe that's the key. This is a value added activity that we continuously just jump over. And again, we're going to see Perform Network have that rework. So we're starting to see patterns of concerns of how we actually execute the operation of our process. What we see here is the process funnel. And this is going to help us understand our processes marked against our data. So again, you're going to be able to see where is there redundancy, where is there variation, where is there conformance that may lead to greater wait times for our customers who are reporting issues with their internet. So what, once again, steps are we jumping over, our rework that we see? We can actually increase the sequence flow to its full potential to really see the dramatic effect of the truth in comparison to what we thought the theory was. So it's an overlay of the data visualization of what we believed our true execution of the process is. This view helps us understand, one, compliance. Where are there deviations that maybe circumvented the prescribed process? Number two, conformance. Identify process variants that do not conform to the standard process. And three, performance. Identify activities in the process taking an excessive amount of time to execute or complete, really, making a bottleneck in the process. And what we're able to determine through the data component is that root cause. So let's narrow down on our biggest offenders for poor process performance. And we're able to apply filters to say, which activities require more than 5 times of rework that we see through our processes. So we're going to see, once again, Perform Network Test is one of our biggest offenders. So maybe this is an opportunity for improvement that we can say, one, is this really a value-added activity? Two, do we have the right technical resources to support? Is this a potential opportunity for automation? RPA, AI, ML, where can we really drive innovative ideas to support process performance? So it's really about, let's understand the process, let's understand the pain points of the process, and let's address how we can support through innovative technology. And again, if we remember, it all started from the perspective of the customer. Where were they most challenged and frustrated with our operation? And that gave us insight on where to prioritize process improvement. Coming away from the data side, your human resources are also key. Again, it's about being able to speak to those who are in the front line, working with the customers, who hear the customer's frustration, who hear the customer's ideas, and they can go ahead and really support key assessments. So we can go ahead and provide balanced scorecard through measures, strategic objectives, targets, initiatives, and get a overall consensus of ideally which processes to prioritize improvement on through the conversation and the feedback that we're gaining from those participating in the actual process. We can go ahead and score via our business impact matrix. with our business impact matrix, we want to understand what is the true business impact. And business impact usually correlates to finance, mitigation of risk, and that customer experience. We also want to understand, well, what's the overall ease of use? So do we find, or rather ease of fix, excuse me. So do we find these processes have easy improvement efforts? What's the project initiative? So this really starts to give us visibility on which processes and which projects that initiate change in the process are seen as most critical. In addition to the business prioritization, we can also take it from a risk level perspective. So again, having visibility can come in all different angles and can come in from a strategic way. So this includes assessing your risk and driving change through needs of control. We can't mitigate risk if we don't know where risk reside. And so having a process in place to really understand where your challenges are from an operational point is key. And this can go ahead and prioritize your project as well. So we can say, well, what are the critical risks? And we can see that missing data, and we can go ahead and assess the missing data and evaluate, where do we find the likelihood, the severity, and do an assessment with our key stakeholders, with our subject matter experts. And not only can we get an idea of what is the likelihood, severity, risk category through the assessment, we also have key visibility of everywhere this risk resides. Coming full circle to the process that we've been speaking to, which is going to be that fiber issue to resolution. And not only can we say that these risks correlate at the process level, but we can say specifically what task and where are there controls to this risk. So we're starting to say, looking at the process that ultimately supports the customer experience, we need to mitigate risk for collect issue information, which is that missing data. So maybe if we have fail-safe forms, we can streamline the process at a better rate. So that way we don't have to keep coming back on the phone and asking for key information so we can process the concern the customer has. In addition to that, through the lens of the customer, they can say, I was waiting online for so long, I couldn't get through. Well, it's because we don't have a lot of call center reps. Well, where is there a low bottleneck threshold? Meaning, where does it get most congested in our processes? And then from the conversation we have with our subject matter experts who can provide the feedback, they can go ahead and say, quite often, don't get the right information. So we can say that there's a lot of concern with the information that we're gaining, and we have entry error risk, or maybe the technology is not supportive of an easy streamline. So what we're seeing here through the data from process intelligence, through the communication of your subject matter experts, through the lens of the customer experience, we can say, where in the process does change need to happen? And how do we prioritize the process improvement? Well, that's done through the voice of the customer, concern and frustration, really being able to see the business impact that we can have by changing specifics in our process today. Now, once we understand the changes that we can make to better support a customer experience, we really want to test and ensure we are moving it in the right direction. So it's important to be able to come up with various scenarios and say, where can automation be supported? And from our visuals of the data perspective, as well as the communication of our subject matter experts, we've identified 3 key tasks to automate. So let's go ahead and confirm what we predict, which is, what is the cost and total cycle time that we see today versus if we were to implement and automate those 3 activities. Well, across the board, it seems like a sound decision. Costs go down, total cycle time is reduced. We are freeing up our resources to do more value-added activities, spend more quality time with the customer, and reducing bottlenecks. So it truly is leveraging simulation and comparing various scenarios that canary in the coal mine. So let's make sure we are confident in how we proceed in an effective manner. Thank you so much for joining us today.